is Jared Mariyama, and you're listening to the Master of One podcast. You can find me at jmariyama.com.
Welcome to another episode of the Master of One podcast, the podcast that's still experiencing awkwardly John Hughesian-styled high school drama, and we don't hate it. Part 1 this week, we talk about Spider-Man, D23 releases, and Dice Forge. I'm Andrew, your Master of Art and Design.
I'm Patrick, your Master of Television and Film.
And I'm Luke, your Master of Toys and Games.
So get ready to run through the neighbor's yard in a high-paced musical montage, because it's time for another episode.
There's a science to it. It's kind of weird.
We like to kick our episode off by going around the table, which is where we talk about something new, fun, and noteworthy about our weeks. And to think that I would ever change up that script would be ludicrous. Luke, why don't you tell us about your week?
Okay. Yeah. Well, hey, listen. Actually, speaking of ludicrous, I listened to some old ludicrous the other day, and it is explicit.
Did you
Ladies
mean to
and
say
gentlemen, I
Luda?
want you to know, we did not plan that. That is not a planned, plug for
Yeah,
ludicrous.
because nobody actually listens to ludicrous. So yeah, this week, okay, so two things. I got a Steam link. So I mentioned the Steam sale was going on. So I got a Steam link. So I can play all my Steam games on my TV instead of my computer. So here's the one bad thing about the Steam link that I didn't know, because I didn't do any research. I was like, oh, super big sale, 80% off. I'll take one. Your computer, it basically just mirrors your computer. So anything that is playing on your Steam link on your TV is mirrored to your computer, and there's no way to change that. So basically your computer is being used anytime you're using the Steam link on your TV. So I was like, oh, this will be cool. I can get it. The boys can play some games. But they can't, because if I'm wanting to use my computer, then they cannot use it.
So it's essentially just airplaying.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, it uses the full graphic and processing capabilities of your computer. So it's it's a very super small box. So it's not it's just taking that information and putting it, if your wired connection is just pass through to the box, or over Wi-Fi, it's just encoding it and then spitting it out to your TV. So I didn't realize that. I thought it was more like an actual little mini computer that was just using your Steam account to play things. And it's not that way. So, but it's cool. It's very cool. Playing Rhyme on the TV is awesome. And I got this game called Thumper, and it's kind of like a racing game, but it's more of like a rhythm game. So you have this beetle that's on a track, and it goes through, and it's very flowing. I don't know how to. It's very.
Is the Beetle Thumper?
CGI.
Is that his
Beetle,
name?
Well, maybe. But the Thumper is the idea. It's based on rhythm. So you need to turn on the track and hit buttons in certain rhythm to the music that's going on, and as you hit buttons, it will fire back to the boss that is at the end of this infinite track that you're weaving through. It's a really addicting game because it's super duper hard. But yeah, so I played that. So that was the first thing of the week. And then the second thing of the week, on HBO, they've been talking about a miniseries coming out, and it's out now, and it's called The Defiant Ones. There's 4 parts available right now, and it's the story of Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre, and just kind of how they came up and how they worked together, and kind of, what's happened with beats and all that kind of stuff, and just talks about how they kind of did things different than the system. And that's where the whole Defiant Ones comes in. I've only watched the first part, but man, it's really good to kind of get that backstory and that history from them. Because I've seen some of that from like Straight Outta Compton, and just knowing from like being a fan of music, my whole life, I knew some of that. But like the way Jimmy Iovine came up is he was working at a recording studio, and then like on Easter Sunday got a call from the guy running the studio and said, "Hey, can you come in today?" And he was like, yeah. And so he told his family, and they're like, "No, you can't miss Easter." And ultimately he went, and it was to be the engineer, the first engineer for John Lennon for his album. Like
that's
he
good.
went from being like an engineer to like first engineer and working with like John Lennon, and then he's gone on to have this.
But that kind of reinforces
career.
Bad habits.
Yeah, maybe.
Like now, he probably never showed up to another Easter ever again.
He kind of didn't have to.
He's never had Easter dinner anymore with his family.
But man, so I've only watched the first part of the 4 available about them, and they're like an hour and a half, 2 hours ish each one. It's gorgeous. It's shot incredible. There's the amount of star power just interviewed is insane. Of just like I think me personally, like the logistics of putting together shooting this documentary was probably just super hard because of everybody's schedules involved. And so I have no idea how long it's been in production, but there's crazy, like there's a video shot of them, Jimmy and Dr. Dre, and him and Tim Cook, and it's like video of them after they made the deal for Beats, and then it like goes into the newspaper clipping. But it's like the video behind it, and it's just the amount of like thought that like went into like getting all those clips, or just getting those guys together to like film that for this. Like it's just the pieces and parts put together in the production of this is pretty impressive, and it looks great. So. I've been watching that. It's on HBO now. If you are interested, I would recommend it because it's very pop culture and very informative. And that was my week. So take it away, Patrick.
Yeah, naturally, of course. I'll save one thing for right here. LAIKA has partnered with Nike shoes for
that makes sense.
Yeah, naturally. Well, it's a set of sneakers for 4 different films: Kubo, Paranorman, Box Trolls, and Coraline. And these speakers are speakers. Wow,
shoes.
These shoes, these shoes. Yes, they are going to be at the LAIKA Experience, July 14th through 23rd.
At Comic-Con.
They'll be in San Diego. Yep. And you can go actually enter to win. They're going to give away a different pair of shoes
every minute
for 4 days in a row. Yeah. Nope, not every minute, for 4 days in a row. And then they also have some like slippers.
Every minute.
Yep, every minute. They're really not valuable at all. They're honestly, they created so many pairs.
They're disposable shoes.
Yeah, but these look incredible. So did y'all look through the pictures of them today? I sent pictures. These are in the show notes.
I saw the main picture that I've seen in the other, like all the advertising I've seen for it, and I don't like that shoe.
You've seen advertising for it?
Yeah, I've seen it on other blogs and stuff.
I saw a billboard for it, actually.
You're kidding.
I'm not kidding. I saw it.
I believe you.
I don't believe
but
you.
I didn't like that first
That's
shoe.
fine.
I didn't like that brown kind of. I don't know if it was supposed to be for Box Trolls or something, maybe. But
Yeah, it was the Box
I didn't
Trolls
like
one.
it, and so I didn't look at any more because I was like,
the Coraline is like a tans and grays and browns, and then it's got like the button that you actually lace around. I think
But those actually look cool. I think Luke would like those. But I think the ones that you saw had like a brown bottom and like a khaki side, and there was some printing on it. But that's for Box Trolls. Like it's kind of looks like an old box.
It's the main image of what Patrick sent. So maybe it's the Paranorman one. It's like a black bottom with a brown toe and a green like little sleeve on the back.
Paranorman is literally like black shoe
Black
with
and
fluorescent
green.
lime
I clicked
green.
I clicked the link. I'm
smoke
looking
stuff.
now.
Paranorman looks
it's
like
the
what I
box
would have
troll
worn
one. Yeah,
in
I don't like the
7th
box
grade.
troll ones. Ugh, they're gross.
So anyway, the shoes, we've kind of halfway described them without directly describing them to you, but the Paranorman shoe looks like something that I would have loved to wear in like 6th or 7th grade. It's pitch black, and then it has this fluorescent lime sole and almost like this lime smoke wrapping up the side of the
Funny
shoes.
that you say soul.
Okay, yeah. And then Coraline...
That's paranormal.
Has heavy stitching, like really like this fat stitching that runs through it, and then it has buttons. So like where you actually go to do your last turn of your laces, they wrap around buttons on either side.
How
and
often
then
do you think those will fall off?
Never.
Okay.
Because you won't wear them. Because you'll put them in a display case.
Yeah, they're guaranteed to never ever fall off ever.
Yeah,
'cause
and
they're
those are
already
like.
dead.
Well, what's funny is they actually do look pretty similar to the box trolls because both of them have pretty almost like potato sack fabric. I don't know how to. What's that fabric called?
Canvas?
There's a better.
Canvas.
Yeah,
Burlap?
like a thick canvas.
Burlap.
Any of these things.
It's not actually burlap. It's canvas, but it's meant to
Cashmere.
look like burlap.
But the box trolls one, it looks like it has maybe like it has a suede upper and toe that also could just be leather. And it's a bit difficult to tell in the pictures. And then it's got this green accent on the back heel.
And it's got instead of laces, they're toggled.
They are, yeah, exactly. And then on the inside, man, the inside lining looks super sick.
Looks like
to me.
throw
I
up.
love that. I know, it's perfect. And then finally, oh gosh, I didn't see the complimentary socks. I somehow missed that going through. And then there's
Are those stance socks or are they?
They look like stance. I don't know.
It looks like there's a little stance logo. It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
I know that they're dry fit. Okay, and so
No,
then
they're
finally
not. They're just dry fit.
Yeah, they're dry fit. Okay, and then finally for Kubo and the Two Strings. Now these, in some ways, I think least resemble the property, but the left and right, one is red accents, the other one is blue accents, and I think the idea there is like the good versus
Light and
evil,
dark.
basically.
Yeah.
And they are the most modern looking shoes. I mean, honestly, this looks like something you'd pull off a shelf right now.
They're Air Jordans. Each of them
Right.
they're actually designed into one of their current like shoe lines.
Right.
Well, exactly, yes. And these are just the ones that I would say probably
You would never wear.
Are
Well,
not for
I-
Patrick.
No, they just most look like you would actually find them sitting on a shelf at a store, I guess is what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say. And again, I think they resemble the property the least, but I love all these shoes.
I think
And,
the Paranorman you'd see on the store floor.
Yeah, at the Jersey Shore as well.
The
Yeah, 'cause
short
that's where
store. What is up, man, with all of us?
There's a
So
timing issue.
I love the crossover, though. I love the idea of
Can you do a crossover?
Huh?
That's a basketball joke.
Like my laces?
Yeah, sure.
I can do crossover laces. I know how to tie my laces 3 different ways.
Crisscross applesauce?
No, my mom, Mackenzie.
This has devolved.
Yeah, cut all this. Anyway, cool shoes. So the link is in the show notes. Again, this is LAIKA with Nike. You can see them when you go to the LAIKA experience, and then they will be giving them away. So
minute.
enter to win. Not every minute. That's it. Andrew.
All right, so a couple of quick things. Follow up from I'm back from Colorado. Just a couple of days back in flat old Texas after being in the mountains for about a week or so. And just a quick note. First of all, Colorado's freaking amazing. And so just putting that out there. But second of all, I had just a quick update. I had said prior to going out, if you listened to that episode last week or the week before, that while I was out there, I was going to be, visiting the Stanley and said the Stanley was used in the filming of Dumb and Dumber and that it was also filmed, that The Shining was filmed there. Well, that's not true. I found that out. It's actually a widely misconstrued or misunderstood or whatever, misconception. So what actually happened is none of the original 1980s Shining was filmed in the Stanley Hotel because it's a historic site, and so because of that, they couldn't do with it what Stanley Kubrick wanted to do, like, pour fake blood all over the place and do all of those things. So it wasn't gonna be conducive for the writing now, or for the filming. Now, what did happen there? That is the site where Stephen King had his inspiration for the film. So just a really quick version of the story. He and his wife were on their way back from some vacation and wanted to stop because they were getting tired or something like that, or the weather wasn't great. So they pulled over to the Stanley Hotel and went in. They went in on the last day of the season. Okay, so if you're familiar with The Shining, that sounds familiar. Last day of the season, they said, we want a room. They said, we're not renting rooms anymore for the season. We only have 2 staff members here. One is like the cook / bartender, and then somebody else. And Stephen King, being somewhat persuasive or whatever, managed to get them to agree to let he and his wife stay there. So they said, okay, you can have literally any room in the hotel because there's no rooms booked, and they chose room 217, which is the presidential suite at the time, and it was technically the size of 4 rooms put together at the time. His wife goes off to bed. He goes off exploring the hotel, finds his way to the bar, and the bartender is there packing up and things, and sits down and has a conversation with him, asks for some bourbon. At the time, Stephen King was a functioning alcoholic. And so the guy gives him bourbon. He tries to pay him, and he says, "Sir, your money's no good here." Again, if you're familiar with The Shining, you recognize that line.
Yes.
And presumably because the inventory's already been taken up, there's no cash in the cash register. It's literally like, I can't take your money. Don't worry about it. Like, there's nothing we can do about it. After some beverages, he makes his way back toward his bedroom. Now he gets lost. He doesn't know where he's going. He finds his way to the boiler room, which, again, if you're familiar with The Shining, and kind of stumbles into some things, and then finally makes his way back to his room, and goes to bed. He wakes up in the middle of the night. Their son is home, wherever they lived at the time, with their nanny. He wakes up to the sounds of screaming from his son out in the hallway. So he gets up, obviously concerned, and goes out into the hallway. And they had these old water, like not water hoses, but like fire, instead of fire extinguishers back in the day, they had actual hoses connected to the wall, and you had to.
Yep.
Okay. So he goes out, and there was one directly outside of the room in 217, and he sees what he kind of relays back to everybody. What he sees is that hose has come to life like a snake and has his son in its jowls. And essentially, and it terrifies him, and he goes back to bed. I don't like. There's a piece of this story that's missing in my mind. Like, what happens there?
Alcohol.
Right? Does he realize he's drunk? What's going on? But he wakes up the next morning and has the beginning, middle, and end to The Shining. Goes home and proceeds to write the story, which then later gets sold to a screenplay by Stanley Kubrick. He wasn't terribly happy with what Kubrick did with the story, and so if you remember back in like 1993 or 1995, there was a 6-part miniseries on ABC called Stephen King's The Shining. That entire movie, or that entire short series, was filmed at the Stanley under the supervision of Stephen King, so he would ultimately have his way. So anyway, it wasn't filmed there, but the story is not any less cool. And it was also awesome to be able to go and, the tour guide said, when we got to the base of the stairwell, she said, "Race you to the top," and I did, and I beat her. So just like in Dumb and Dumber, we landed on the moon. That article still on the lobby bar. It's so cool.
I love that so much. I have to believe, though, you made the comment about alcohol. I also have to believe that if I'm Stephen King, I probably just dreamed some weird stuff with or without alcohol.
Right. Anyway, so
yeah.
So the place is cool. If you ever get a chance to go to the Stanley Hotel, it's in Estes Park. It's beautiful. The whole area is just amazing. Go do that. I toured Colorado. It kind of feels like I was in Estes Park. I was in Denver. I was in Colorado Springs, Garden of the Gods, which is insane, where I met up with Luke Flowers, and we had coffee, and he gave me a really cool art book, and he signed it. It was nice. He's a really super cool dude. Went out to Grand Junction, which is kind of in this valley where there are 4 major landmarks, including the Grand Mesa, which is the largest flat top mountain in the world, the Book Cliff Mountains, the Colorado National Monument, and then one other thing. But it's right in the middle of that. So it's just beautiful. If you get a chance to go to Colorado, do it. I wouldn't do it in the winter, though, because I feel like that would just be miserable.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
So other than that, I got some other stuff, but I feel like I took my time on that. So maybe I'll talk about some of that stuff at a later point. But all in all, I've done a ton of traveling. It's been a great time, and I took a lot of pictures. So I think we're going to go ahead and call that quits for Around the Table. That means up next, we're going to talk some master categories. So the master category part of this episode is when we get to talk about the tokens that we drew the week before. That gives us the category. We have to pick our topic based on that category. So Luke, what did you draw last week?
Art and design.
Cool. So why don't you talk to us about art and design?
Okay.
Give it to us.
Yeah. So I am going to talk about, so right around the corner is D23. And we just got announced
for everybody who doesn't know what D23 is, can you explain what it is?
Yeah, it's the Disney Expo. It's like where they kind of talk about, it's kind of like Comic-Con for Disney, basically, is the easiest way to explain it.
Yeah, it's a great description.
So, Oh My Disney just released all of the variant covers or variant prints from the Never Grow Up Mondo show. All the variants that will be available at D23. So there's one by Laurent Durieux. It's the Bambi one, a Matt Taylor variant for Lion King, Brandon Holtz variant for Skeleton Dance, the Wind in the Willows variant by J.C. Richard, Tom Whalen's Alice in Wonderland variant, and the Ken Taylor Baymax variant, and the Dave Perillo Gravity Falls variant. Oh, and there's one more. Yep. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Martin Anson. So you guys went to the show, right?
That's right.
And they didn't have any of these shown. You know, these are the first time that anybody is really seeing these, except for maybe a couple teases on Instagrams and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think of these variants? The Matt Taylor, for me, it's so vibrant, like it almost hurts my eyes looking at it. Like it's so bright.
That's not unlike the actual print sitting right behind me. Yeah. I mean, it's so bright, but in a beautiful way, not like in a way that's
it's not off-putting at all. But it's just it's so hard to imagine all of that color packed into a piece of paper.
I know.
Digitally, it makes sense, you know, but like actual paper, it'd be interesting to see it in person. Tom Whalen's variant, come on, it's just good.
It looks like one of the cards. So, I mean, if you've listened to the episode or you've seen this print, it's a big playing card. Yeah. And the other one's was printed on bright white, a brand new deck of cards. This looks like a card that has been in your drawer for 10 years. Yeah. I like it.
And then
and it's blue on the back instead of red.
Right. That's a big one. The Dave Perillo, the Gravity Falls. Andrew, did you get a Gravity Falls the first time around?
Yeah, that's yes. Not the first time around. When I went back and picked up a couple prints for some people in the Slack channel, I got one because I was like, it was so good, but at the time I was buying 5 or 6 prints, and so I just couldn't swing it.
Sure.
But a week later, I felt like, I could just go ahead and do it.
Right.
And it's great. I love it's in our game room downstairs.
Nice. Okay, so since you're still talking, just talk about what you think of these kind of re-releases, these variants.
I like them. I'm having a little trouble deciphering what's different about some of them. Obviously, the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is like dominantly red, and it was dominantly blue and green before, so that makes sense. Tom Whalen's, I know what's different. I think that the main difference in Matt Taylor's is that there's like a blue sky with like clouds and stuff. I'm having trouble noticing the main difference between that and what I have right over here.
Yeah.
I feel the same way about it, by the way, because they're both so vibrant that if the hues are different, it's just hard to pick up on.
There was a major difference between the green variant that he had at the show and this one, but these seem very similar. And then the Bambi one, I think maybe there's maybe more color in the background or something. Yeah. And the Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, I have no idea. The Skeleton Dance, I have no idea what's different about them because it's got to be something in the illustration, not just the color, because the Skeleton Dance one is all black and white. Right. So if it's a variant, then maybe it's the paper choice or something. I don't know. It's hard to tell for me. Patrick, what do you think?
Yeah, Patrick, what do you think?
So, I'm going to be honest. So the funny thing is, I don't remember, so specifically the Skeleton Dance, I don't actually remember it from the show. I kind of feel bad, but I don't.
It was up by the register, so there was a ton of people standing there.
Which is probably the reason, if you haven't been to the gallery's not very large. And so in the line, as soon as it opens, people just go straight to the register. And the line just persists the whole time. So anything on the other side of the line is just tough to get to.
Yeah, it was underneath the Tron. It was between the Tron prints and the Rocketeer print is where it was.
The completionist part of me wants the Alice print, but even moving, setting that aside, I actually like the off-white and I like the blue. I think I like it better than the normal as far as the coloring. The Baymax, I actually do dig this palette more.
Oh, yes. I agree with that. I think it looks better than the original.
I did. So here's the thing. I wasn't a fan of the original. This one I would actually own.
Exactly.
And
but I'm a fan of the property.
Right, exactly. I did like the property, and so I had thought going into it I'd purchase a Baymax piece, and I didn't because I just, for whatever reason, something just seemed slightly off about it. This is much better. This is a huge improvement. Gravity Falls, I wasn't very interested in the property, so I don't notice a big difference. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea took, now it's making your eyes bleed. That freaking took a hint from Matt Taylor. Bambi, So I have the Bambi piece. Yeah. And it looks like it's mostly the same. The biggest thing I notice is all the coloring looking out at the mountain, past the snow.
Right. Whereas before, it was just kind of like that muted pastel blue.
Exactly.
Now it's got some pinks in there and some purples and stuff. And it accentuates the snowfall a little bit more, I think.
Totally. And I think that's a good improvement, but I don't think it's a drastic improvement. I think that I already have one that's kind of enough to satisfy
that communicates that idea. Sure. I would actually go back and buy a Bambi. I wish I had purchased a Bambi.
Yeah, the Bambi piece is
so
beautiful.
This could be an opportunity to do that. But if they're even selling them outside of D23, I don't know.
Sure.
Well, I have to imagine that if they have some left over, they will. But how likely
they won't have any left over after D23.
Exactly.
There's no way.
I think the only one that again I think it's what you just said. I just can't spot the differences in the Matt Taylor. I think it's just color, in the same way that he had a mint one and then the whatever. I think it's color. And maybe it's one of those things that
I would say mint and then Spectravision.
Yeah. No, right. And this one is
ones.
Bleeding eyes. No, I'm sure if you saw this one, if you saw them side by side, it would be totally apparent and obvious. Yeah. But certainly, I think if you own the regular, then you're pretty set.
Cool. Okay, before we get off of D23, there's something else that there's going to be released. We have seen the next iteration of the Vinylmation toy from Jared Maruyama, the Hipster Mini. Hipster Mini's coming out. So
I know. It goes right in. It's like a perfect pairing.
Yeah,
with
he's been
the
posting pictures of different things about it. A couple posts in the wild of the actual piece, and man, together they look like such a cool couple. They're just too cool for school. Man, it's
plus
cool.
I think Jared's releasing
there's some prints around it and stuff like that.
Yeah, 6 or 7 other things in conjunction with this. Plus, he just had the the Kingdom of Cute series. He is like on fire right now.
Yeah. He's killing it.
And if you don't know who Jared Mariam is, if you're just now tuning into this, Jared is a big friend to the show. He's co-hosting the Squared Co podcast. Go check that out. It's kind of in the beginning stages, but they're like rolling stuff out left and right.
Oh yeah, they're killing it.
But just a stand-up dude, super talented, super cool, and but yeah, he's releasing a lot of stuff at D23.
Yeah. So that's it. Art and design. There's some cool stuff happening around Disney. Who wants to take it next? Andrew?
I'll take it, and then we'll finish on the review, right?
Yeah.
Does that sound good to everybody? Cool. Let us know what you think out there if this format worked.
Oh my god!
So I got TV and film. No, I didn't. I got toys and games.
There you go.
And I could not be more thrilled this week because there's a game that I've been eyeing for a very long time. I've been watching online the development phase. And it just came out last week while I was in Colorado, actually. And I didn't, I wanted to buy it, but I'm like, I don't even have room on the airplane. So it was the day that I got back, literally that day I drove from the airport. I went to work for a little bit, and then I went straight to the game store and purchased a copy.
Okay.
And this game is called Dice Forge. All right. So
right.
Dice Forge is a game that's pretty involved. It's so you've heard of deck building games, and you kind of know what that is if you're in the world. This is more of a world building game, but specifically a dice building game.
Okay.
So it's a really interesting mechanic. So I'm going to show the guys on my screen. There will be a link in the show notes if you want to see what I'm talking about, because honestly, it's a little hard to describe. So I would encourage you to go check this out either through our show notes or just search Dice Forge and look it up, because it's kind of hard to understand. So I understand that just right off the get-go. Out the get-go? On the get-go?
Yeah,
whatever
right
it is.
out the gate.
In the get-go.
In the get-go.
In the get-go.
In a
the
get-go. Oh my
Get-go.
god! So there's a theme around this game. There's a story base behind it, and there are these different clans or races or something, or these different worlds, and I'm going to show the guys now. This is kind of the basis for it. So each one of these represents a different island, which is a different race of people.
Sure.
And then they're all connected via portals, and so you can portal between these worlds, and you're trying to conquer different things. But the way in which you do that is by getting resources and things like that. But you get those resources by rolling dice, and this is how the dice come. That I just threw on the desk. So this is how the dice come. You see it?
Oh
yeah.
That's ridiculous.
See how it's like
a die
cube.
with Legos on it.
Yes, that's a good way of explaining it. But it's not like Lego. Like it's unique. Like
Yeah.
it's definitely a unique looking thing. So you get all these dice, and then you get this bag of different faces. So here's a die that I have put lots of faces in.
Okay.
So the faces just snap in. So when you start, your die there's like a default die with like it's very low numbers, very low. You get very little by rolling it, but as you go, you get to add more opportunities for rolling really good things. So like here's a ×3 that you can get and add to it. Here's one that's it allows you to get multiple colors, like whichever color you need, like for the resources. So what drew me to this game first, when I first saw it, was the artwork on it. Okay. So you remember me talking probably a year or two ago at this point on the show. We've been doing it long enough. It's at least a year and a half ago. I talked about the game Niet.
Yeah.
And the art of that game, which I played Niet today, by the way, and that game holds up. It's great. But the artist, his name is Bibon. Bibon, I think. It's Biboun. I believe he's a French artist. I could be wrong about that, but I believe he's a French artist. But he did the artwork for this game as well. So that's what drew me to it initially, because I follow him on Instagram after I bought Niet. And it's that same style. So I'm going to try to show you guys the way that the cards are drawn. So like here's a three-headed wolf, like a fire wolf.
Yeah.
Here's like a one-eyed smoke monster, like cycloptic smoke monster. And each of these has this is a cool I haven't played this game yet because it's pretty involved, and I just got it.
It's like a monkey
but it's
with
like
a trident, almost.
Yeah, it's an aqua. It's like a.
It's weird.
It's an equestrian. But besides characters, there's also like the resources. Like here's a ship.
Okay. Yeah.
So anyway, his art style it's just amazing, and so that's what drew me to it first. But the actual mechanic of the game is very, very intriguing to me. It's very involved. You actually use the box in the gameplay. The way that they do it, they call it like the foundation, and it comes with a piece that you lay across the top, and all of your extra die pieces go inside of these little holes. It's very, very well thought out. It's very well done. But it's not super expensive. So you'd expect something with the kind of like proprietary pieces and things like this that are required to make it, you'd expect this game to probably be like, what, $80?
Yeah, something 50, 60.
Based on the size. I mean, here's the box. The box size, it's a big box.
Yeah.
The artwork is great. But I believe I got it for like 40 or 45.
Okay.
It wasn't bad. Like it wasn't.
No, that's not bad.
Very reasonable, specifically
that's the
for
Asmodee
these kinds of games.
right?
It's a what?
Asmodee.
What does that mean?
The company that made the game.
The company, yeah.
Publisher.
Oh, the company that made it, I thought was Libellude.
No, I think
Libellude,
it's Asmodee.
Huh. All right. Well, it says Libellude on the box, so I don't know what that means.
Okay.
But anyway, it was a I believe it was a Kickstarter game. If not Kickstarted, it was at least like a game that's been like the development phase has been very much highly anticipated. So like they've there's been several iterations of it before it actually came out. So the development phase took a while, but I am super excited about it. Once I play it, I'll give like a better review of it. Right now, I'm just kind of reviewing the pieces and the game itself. But I'll review the gameplay at some point after I've played. But go check it out, Dice Forge. I think you will. I think you will like it, Luke. I think you would like it. I think the style of it.
Yeah, I really like it.
Right up your alley. So, okay, that's it for toys.
Builders.
What?
I'm a sucker for deck builders.
Yeah, so just imagine like a deck builder, but with like hard dice.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, Patrick, I think it's just you.
That's right. So TV and film, and there's so much
Stick
stuff.
it to us, man.
No, I'm going to go a bit quick, and I know that's going to disappoint you, but the obvious thing would be to spend time on Spider-Man, and I am going to talk about it, but I actually want to hit 3 things related to TV and film.
What?
That's right. It's going to be, I'm going to blow through 2 of them, and then I'll spend a little bit more time on Spider-Man, but certainly nothing in
Good, because
depth.
I have ideas about Spider-Man.
Okay, I'll give you a chance. I'll give you your platform, even though it's mine. First, this week is Game of Thrones. I don't know how we could go an episode and nearly
Well, we can
not
wait and talk about
that
for next week after it's out.
No,
Wait a
we
minute.
can talk about the fact that is Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday.
What?
Yeah.
Game of Thrones is, yes.
What? How did I miss that?
Winter
travel.
is
How did I miss
here,
all the
Andrew.
promo for it?
I don't know.
I have
'Cause
no
there
idea,
hasn't been
because-
any.
Listen, I literally listen to this podcast for all of my entertainment news, and I haven't heard it mentioned once.
Well,
I
see,
know.
that's the
Well-
thing. That's the thing I've noticed, because it's this week.
Well
I
said.
noticed there's no advertising around it. There's really not this week.
So I am on the mailing list, so I get an email like every 3 days telling me about a new promo or a new game or new something. So I'm hearing about it. But the point is,
So
this
you're the reason
weekend,
why we don't know about it.
Here's what we're doing at my house. We have assigned a family. So we have like Starks and Lannisters and whatever. We have all the houses. And whatever house you pick, you have to bring a food item associated with that house.
Okay.
So this is a
fun.
secret, because I don't think any of my friends listen to this podcast.
well, that sucks.
We're doing Starks. But
You're
we're
right,
actually-
because I listen to this podcast.
we're bringing a meat pie in
Ugh.
honor of the meat pie that she served. What's his name? Yeah, it's
Good
gonna be
story.
great.
You're gonna
But-
button that down before Sunday, right?
Yeah, no, I'll definitely clean up the.
You probably want to know the origin story before you just show up.
You know, the meat pie
remember
that
that
you
time
gave
that this
him.
girl brought this pie to some
No,
guy?
it's the Stark Arya. And the person's ground up in it, and he eats it. It's like his son or something. I don't remember. Someone's listening, freaking out. I don't have to remember the specifics. That was like a season ago.
Yeah,
But
you're
that's
not the master
Spoiler
of it.
alert.
So anyway, Game of Thrones this weekend. That's all the time I'm going to spend on it, but it's going to be awesome. Have a party.
I can't believe I missed that.
I've got a really cool thing to show you. I got to wait till it comes in. I'll take a picture and I'll send it out to everybody. You'll crack
Is it
up.
a meat pie?
It's never mind. I won't send it anymore. Okay. The second thing is Riverdale. This show has been a lot of fun. We started listening to it, or I started watching the show, at a weird time because our schedule got kind of messed up for 4th of July, and I never got to talk about it. So Mackenzie and I started watching it on Friday. We were done with it by Sunday, the whole first season. They're working on the second season now. It's Archie in a dark universe.
Yeah, it's like
in
live
a
action
murder
Archie,
mystery.
right? The comic Archie.
Exactly, in a murder mystery. And it's actually fun. They actually, in one of the episodes, there's like a dream sequence, but everybody is in the comic Archie attire. And it's
funny.
really cool to see. I will say this, give it like 3 or 4 episodes. Because in being a show on the CW and feeling the need to, I think, politically check all the boxes, the first 3 episodes are just establishing that they're relevant.
It feels very CW.
Again, the cinematography, I'm telling you, is beautiful. The cinematography
I've
does
seen
not
pictures.
feel CW.
Yeah, I mean, it looks great.
It's a beautiful show. I love the coloring and everything. Like, they have all this exaggerated pops of color, I think, to remind you that this is a comic book, right?
Sure.
So the color's done really well. I think the story arc itself and the kind of interconnection of everybody is handled awesomely. I just think that some of the dialogue is really, again, trying to prove itself as being cool and hip for a few episodes. So I think let that die down. Let it get past that. By the time you get to episode 4, it's smooth sailing through the end of the season.
Didn't that have a little bit of controversy with like the advertisements or something where like Veronica was like, or one of the girls was into one of the other girls or something weird? Like,
so what's funny is there is literally... That's not what it is, but however, again, it's like the first episode, there's a scene with like 2 girls kissing, and it's not that they're into each other, it's just... and that's what I'm saying.
It's
like,
Thursday night.
I remember when the
what you do on
previews
Thursday
or whatever
night.
came out of the teasers and stuff. That was part of it, and people like, you know, all the comic readers were just like, whoa, wait a second, this is like, you can't mess with this world, and you know, it was like that whole thing.
And like I said, I think there's a bit of stretching. And again, I genuinely think by the time we get to episode 4, this goes away and you really just get to enjoy the story the rest of the season. It just feels like someone's working overtime just to try to bring in all the current political issues.
You got to check all the boxes to get the sponsor money.
It's absolutely there. But, and I don't know if it's like different writers or I don't know what it is. By the time we get to episode 4, that's the mark. We get to all chill out and we get to enjoy the show. And the show genuinely is a great, great show.
Okay.
Can't wait till the next season. So Riverdale, give it a chance. And if nothing else, it's just pretty to look at. I mean, honestly, the cinematography done super well. And then finally, the main attraction, Spider-Man. That's what's next.
Your friendly neighborhood
Spider-Man, Spider-Man.
That's right. So saw it a Friday night, I guess release. I'm sure some people were seeing it Wednesday and Thursday. And Spider-Man is a property that everybody that's listening, I'm sure, is familiar with. And honestly, given the numbers, you've probably already seen it. But the idea is that this is another origin story. It's an origin story while at the same time trying to not sidestep, but just realizing the pieces that have been overtold, we can push those to the side right now.
Okay.
And it focuses... I think much more on Spidey, on Peter Parker being a kid, on getting to enjoy high school and like those relationships. And in fact, I think they do a good job at making that the primary focus, as opposed to necessarily like just being a superhero. So. That being said, many of the issues that are being dealt with in the film are the issues that I think a typical coming-of-age person is going to deal with. In addition to that, the Michael Keaton, by the way, I just think is amazing. I think he's awesome. Michael Keaton, in a lot of ways, and this was even said by the director of the film. So this isn't like something I'm inferring. This is something that was stated. He, as a villain, his kind of motivation, and then basically the danger he posed to Spider-Man, was kind of in relation to where Spider-Man was at in his life. So the idea isn't that Michael Keaton would be some grand overlord that's going to like blow up the earth. That's way beyond where we're trying to get to. We're at a guy that's like coming to terms with life right now. And so at the same time, it was a much more kind of down-to-earth story. And in some ways, Michael Keaton's character was kind of forced into his position. That being said, it also makes his motivation seem very authentic. So all that interplay, the way it worked, I think was great. The freaking car product placement for that Audi or whatever garbage that was over the top for me. That was the one, I don't know, like I'm sure it was all over the place. The only thing that stood out to me was the stupid Audi. But as far as the movie itself, I really enjoyed it. I think it's a fun film. Pacing was nice and consistent throughout. I love the end credits. Those were beautiful. I don't know who illustrated those, but gosh, those were great. I wanted to see more of that. And then who doesn't? Man, if you didn't stay for the second stinger, you just missed it in a big way. One of the best ones that we've seen. And my only complaint with the movie would be that Hannibal Buress should have had 4 times the screen time, because I love that guy. So, all right. So, Andrew, Luke, both of you guys are raring to go. I'll go and tell you now. You don't have to send it back to me. I'm super positive about the film. It's probably a 9 or a 10. It's floating around. I think in the realm of superhero films, I don't know that you can, frankly, do much better. And that's my opinion. I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
As much as probably any other superhero film I've seen.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
Andrew, you can go and jump in.
Okay. So what I'll echo the idea of it being very attainable, very approachable, relatable. We saw it at Comic-Con when Luke and I were there. They gave us they were just like 1 week into filming when we went there, and they showed us a teaser of some of the first footage, and they talked about how very much the inspiration for this was to be very John Hughesian in theming. And one of the things that with John Hughes, especially with these coming of age type stories like Breakfast Club and Ferris Bueller's Day Off and those kinds of things, is that they're relatable. They're like a hyper, what did I say?
Ferris Bueller.
It sounded weird, but
I saw the smirk on your face. I'm like, what did I say? So I flipped it. Sorry, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. You don't remember that classic line? Bueller. But one of the things that makes him so iconic is when he does these coming of age stories, is he keeps them very relatable. He doesn't take them, they're a hyper real version. And in a lot of ways, you could go back and look at Ferris Bueller and think his and even Breakfast Club for that matter, their anti-hero or their the villains of those are very much the same as this villain, right? This villain, it's maybe a little bit larger scale because it's a Marvel film,
right?
But it's similar, like what Patrick was saying. Like he's not so intimidating that the Hulk and Thor and Captain America and Iron Man are being called in to deal with him, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's why Spider-Man's getting this opportunity to do this. So. I agree wholeheartedly. I've stated this. I've gone on record as saying that my favorite Spider-Man has been and will always be Andrew Garfield. And the second, halfway through this film, I was like, yeah, I changed my mind. Tom Holland played a perfect Peter Parker in my mind. Mm-hmm. I think he killed it. I was afraid that no one would be able to match the snarkiness of Andrew Garfield, but he did it. Like he nailed it, and he did it in a way that feels like a teenager who's going through the things that a teenager would be going through, while also having been bitten by a radioactive spider. But Patrick knows about that. He's got Lyme disease. The thing that I think, did we say that on the show or was that off air?
It was
It's
off
just
air.
weird because my only superpower is I pee myself now. Is that normal? So I'm really good. I see it as being like a super repellent.
Yeah, I can get anybody to leave my presence at any point.
I will agree with you real quick. That Andrew Garfield, I was kind of the same way. Gosh, he was just the right amount of the right balance of immature and mature, and then he was energetic, and he seemed like. He was like a bit tongue-in-cheek in all his movement, and I just felt like the personality was right, even if maybe he seemed a few years too old. I just felt like he nailed the kind of essence. Tom Holland's totally on par. Totally.
I agree. The one thing that I would say in reference to how they presented the film, you mentioned it as an origin story, but then you kind of backpedaled a little bit. It's not an origin story in the sense that it's Spider-Man becoming Spider-Man. They don't talk about that at all. They allude to it a couple of times, but they did what I wish any Batman movie moving forward would do, and that's don't show Bruce Wayne's family getting murdered anymore. We get it. Even people who are, even kids, get that. We don't need to see it anymore. We don't need to see Uncle Ben getting shot and killed. We don't need to see him getting bit by the spider anymore. It is an understood lore and origin, and I love that they didn't have to go there with that. And they even played with that tongue-in-cheekly with his buddy about like, oh, can you summon spiders, and can you do you lay eggs and that kind of stuff. And man, I love that they didn't have to do that again. They would have wasted so much time that was better spent progressing the story as opposed to retelling the same story that we already know.
So that's a good way to put it, because it's an origin in the sense of basically him discovering his capability, like the the depth of himself. But in many ways, it's the correlation to high school and actually understanding your place in the world and what you're actually capable of, like moving out
and trying to prove yourself to
totally.
people.
So it's all kind of in line together. But you're right, it wasn't an origin story in the sense that we ever get to meet normal Peter Parker.
Right.
Yeah. All right, Luke, what do you think?
No.
I agree. I would say it's a 9 or a 10. I'll put it safely at a 9.5 for me.
Sure. I agree. I loved it. I thought that. So, I mean, you guys mentioned Andrew Garfield. For me, he always felt. You said snarky, and I think that's a great word. I think there was always this level of he was a little bit too cool to be Peter Parker.
A little cocky.
A little too cocky, and Tom Holland felt he was sarcastic. He was a little rambunctious, but he always felt like a good guy, like he was a good kid. And I think that's
fair.
The main difference of why he works as Peter Parker. I think, I mean, what you said about Vulture, Keaton was is spot on. He's a guy, this blue collar guy that's he has responsibilities to take care of, and just so happens that the man or big business kind of gets in the way, and he just has to do what he has to do to provide. And scruples out the door. I have a family to take care of, and it kind of got too far into it, and then we have him. It was very attainable. The whole story felt very much like, oh, this works. And yeah, it's not an origin story. It is the origin of how Spider-Man kind of cements himself as a superhero, not of how he becomes a mutant or how he becomes a superhero. And it was cool. It was very cool to see him go through the other side of what this responsibility looks like, and then like the whole like thread with Happy in the whole movie felt really honest and really kind of like what it might feel like for a kid who has this access to this huge person like Tony Stark, and how he's managed and kind of what somebody, the guy that's like his right-hand man who deals with everything day to day for him would respond to this kid that's like, hey man, I'm ready. I want to be part of the Avengers. I'm ready for the next mission. And it's just like, hey, you know what, kid? I don't have time. I'm too busy to even respond to you until something really bad happens or something really big happens, and I have to go, wait, what did you do? Like, it felt very believable. Like it didn't feel weird. It was funny. There was quick humor. Like it fit perfectly in this MCU, in this this kind of super action, but like really good comedy that we have going in all these movies. It was awesome. It was a blast.
The main thread with that, I think, is Tony Stark. It's Robert Downey Jr. and he does a great job. And so, without saying any spoilers, and I think we can wrap. If you are a Spider-Man fan, if you are a comic book fan, this or if you're a fan of the Avengers and all this stuff, this film is like chock full of references and
there's new
Easter
stuff
eggs
that we find. There's new like things you see happening. So
yeah, it's really, really cool. It's really exciting. It makes me excited. I think the next time we'll see him is in Infinity Wars. Yeah, the Avengers. He'll be teaming up with the Guardians of the Galaxy and the regular Avengers team, and then Spider-Man. And so, I'm going to go see it again in theaters. I think it's worth a watch. The artwork that's coming out, from Mondo and from all these other galleries, I think they're all great. Spider-Man is such a great character to illustrate. And I think all of these galleries and artists that are tackling him right now, because he's the thing, are doing a great job. So there is artwork out there. If you love the movie, go buy a print and support an artist who also loved it, because it's a great thing. So, any final words on that, Patrick?
Oh, I'll give it a 9.
Nice. That's high praise from Luke.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was
that's
great.
Nearly the highest reviews ever given.
It's true.
Yeah, after Lucy. Okay.
Lucy was 11.
Everybody, okay, end this now.
She took it to 11. All right, everybody. You can find all the show notes and links to what we just talked about in this episode in the Master of One podcast website, which is mofonepodcast.com. I started to say masterofone.com. It's not that, though. It's mofonepodcast.com. You can find show notes and links to all this stuff. Subscribe to the episode. Subscribe. Go to iTunes, and you'll get an episode twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. This week, we have a bonus one coming at you tomorrow if you're listening to this on record day. So a little bit of a teaser, and you're gonna like what you hear. Our guest this week is phenomenal.
A little chutzpah.
A little bit of chutzpah. So check that out. And then once you do that, Patrick, what do you do after you subscribe?
You're gonna rate and review the show. That's right. It's very easy to do. I think it is, because I've done it. And tell us what you think about us. Leave us a star review, anywhere from 0 to 5, although I think only 5 is working right now. iTunes has some type of glitch that you have to fix it, so just go and tap that 5.
If they fix it and there's more than 5, just you give as many as you can.
Yeah, give the maximum number.
Exactly, yeah.
If there's a glitch and there's 50, just go ahead and put that.
50, yeah. And then leave a review. Tell us what you think about the show. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you still like. And we will read it on the air on our Tuesday episode.
Cool. I believe we have one in the chamber, right?
That's right. Yes, we do. We have a new review this week from 82 Born Crew. I think I know who this is, but you know what? I'll leave it a secret. Maybe they want to be mysterious.
Animosity.
And the title. That's right. Yeah, not animosity.
Animosity.
Oh my gosh.
It's fine.
The title is Want to Give It a 10. I think that's close. And then 5 stars. 5 stars, 5 stars. And Andrew is going to read this, and I'm going to go and take the note at the bottom. It says, to be read in the voice of beloved Sesame Street character, The Count. So you have to read that.
Oh, the old Sesame.
Character.
Speaking of the Muppets, just as a side note, it was announced today officially that the voice of Kermit and a whole slew, and Rizzo the rat, and a whole slew of other characters is officially no longer working with the Muppets after since like 79. This guy's been working, or 76 or something like that. He's no longer there, which is crazy. So anyway, that's just a side note. It's
really
sad
depressing
thing.
notes. Go ahead and now read this, which is a good thing. Okay, so here we go. So this is the review from 82 Born Crew. Andrew, go ahead.
Each of the three hosts, along with their weekly guest, have unique viewpoints, stories, quick wit, and interesting insight into their particular topics of the week. Makes my 40-minute morning commute hilarious, curious of things to explore and research, and always leaves me wanting more. Their enjoyable subject matter and focus on the merit of new art, design, TV, film, toys, games, and whatever else pops up in discussion. Disney, 7 out of 10 times. Sorry. And where to discover those products are greatly appreciated in the detailed show notes. The boys get off topic sometimes, but it's always worth chasing the rabbit for the laughs and the inside jokes.
Topic is the guy that runs our sound for us. Go ahead.
To talk about in their Slack community. As the show has grown, it is easily made its way into my core top 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, on the playlist for each week. Keep it up, you three. 3 wild and crazy guys. So there it is. I hope I did it justice. 82 Born Crew.
Man,
oh my goodness!
Didn't.
So you can do that.
You can. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. You set the stage, and we will be but the mere play actors of your screenplay, and we'll do it for little to no cost, other than our own shame.
That's right.
It's always fun too to make Luke use one of his Dungeons and Dragons voices. That's always a good time. So whoever's out there and wants to do something to help us out with that'd be great. Yep. So you can do that. Also, you can support the show on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/MF1podcast to financially support the show. This isn't free, and we're going to try to never charge you anything, but if you want to help support the show, for as little as $1, you can become a patron. $5 gets you the blooper level, and there's some bloopers coming at you this month. I can promise you that are pretty funny. So that gets you in there, and then it gets you into a special patron channel on our Slack channel where you get early access to things, and it's a great time. So go ahead and do that. Other than that, we're on every social media platform. Just find us on there. Instagram, we tend to have the most interaction on there. So follow us on there. It's just M of One Podcast on all the different socials. Chat with us, post things, let us know what you're thinking, and we just want to be friends with you, right? That's what it's all about, right, Patrick?
Absolutely. We like you.
Yeah. But for now, I think we're going to go ahead and call this one quits, unless there's any addendums. Luke, did you have anything to say?
No, I'm good.
Good. All right, we're going to get out of here. I'm Andrew.
I'm Patrick.
And I'm Luke.
Peace out.
Bye.
Hold on to your butts.
Every time we start an episode, we do it with our Around the Table, and that's where we talk about the things that happened during our week. Fun, cool, and exciting things. I'm going to start this over, because I don't know where I'm going with it.
All
All right.